So, I've been seeing these things about what is the most underrated Pixar movie. Now, there are a few candidates that people have been saying, such as maybe like something like The Incredibles 2 or Monsters University. However, there is a movie that I think is so underrated that it's underrated in itself. Nobody talks about how good this movie actually is, which honestly shocks me considering how it's more so a recent Pixar movie. However, I think with some of the other movies in this, it gets completely overshadowed. And I can see why. There's iconic movies like Toy Story, Monsters Inc., and you also got WALL-E, which is the best ever. Don't fight me. It's the greatest movie ever made. However, we're going to look at the most underrated Pixar movie. And I know a lot of people say it's Monsters University. But while I do agree it is underrated, I don't agree that it is the most underrated. At this point, I think that something else is even more underrated than Monsters University. And what movie is that, you ask? Well, that movie is Cars 3. Yes, I know. Laugh at me all you want if you think this movie is mid. This movie is an underrated masterpiece in my opinion. And I'm going to try my best to convince you why you should watch this movie again and then come back to me and say my points are valid or not. Because, trust me, this is an underrated gem. Okay, so to start off, like the first Cars movie, this opening is an absolute banger. And honestly, I like this opening more than the original Cars because Lightning McQueen says,
"This one's for you, Doc."
Yeah. That just makes any opening better than any Cars opening. I'm sorry, but that's just the truth. Also, Lightning running around with Cal and Bobby, that's just like a heartwarming scene, like making friends in sports. When McQueen said he didn't have any friends in the first movie and he's making friends during the race. I mean, hey, good for him, socializing, and he's still winning as well, and congratulating his opponents, which is good sportsmanship. Good for you, McQueen. And then Jackson Storm comes out of nowhere and absolutely torches all of them, causing Cal to retire and Bobby to get fired, which is honestly kind of heartbreaking because I wanted to get to know these characters more. Maybe if Cars 2 actually had introduced them in that movie, then I would care a little more about them leaving the races and all that, you know what I mean? So, yeah, unfortunate that Cars 2 had to exist and mess all that up. At least it had Francesco. He's like the only cool character from that movie. Anyways, now we get to probably the most important part of the movie where Jackson Storm and McQueen are head to head in the final 40 laps, where McQueen gets slightly ahead off the pit stop and Jackson Storm gets in his head. And man, we were all kids seeing Cars growing up, and just hearing this scene just hits my heart.
Good run. Enjoy your retirement. Storm takes back the lead.
Unbelievable! McQueen is fading! McQueen is fading! Fading fast!
No.
Look, man, I don't care who you are. I grew up with Lightning McQueen, seeing him, beat everybody, racing all good, and then just seeing him get beat by a rookie and crashing like a devastating way. Reminds me of the Doc Hudson crash as well. Same with the King. And, was this the last time we were going to see Lightning McQueen in a race? Spoiler alert, no it wasn't, but the scene still hits hard. I mean, just hearing McQueen is fading when he was winning all those races in the past just hits. I don't know why, it just does. But McQueen is sitting in Doc's home and sees his crash and doesn't want the same thing that happened to Doc happen to him. Now, I've seen people say, oh, why is McQueen in there watching Doc crash? It doesn't make any sense. Well, he's watching it because he doesn't want the same thing that happened to Doc to happen to him. That's the reason why. He just wants to make sure that he can keep racing. Doc was put out of the league by other people. He wanted to keep racing. McQueen doesn't want the same thing to happen. He wants to keep racing. He doesn't want other people to tell him that he can't race. So there's your point proven there, people. We then have Sally go in to Doc's room where McQueen is saying that he can't do the same thing, and Sally motivates him to, keep racing, but you got to do something different because doing the same thing won't beat Jackson Storm. McQueen realizes this and actually listens and goes on a mission to beat Jackson Storm, to get faster, to train differently, and to ultimately beat him in the end. And I also want to say to the people that think Sally is not part of the plot, this is literally what makes Lightning McQueen motivated to beat Jackson Storm after this. Like, dude was just depressed in his room. Literally, Sally motivated him to get up and go at it. And these people want to say Sally doesn't contribute to the plot. Yes, she's not in it that much, but she is literally the reason why McQueen wants to beat Jackson Storm and goes out on the, journey with Mac and Guido and Luigi. So there you go. There's your point there. I don't want to see people say Cars 3 is bad because Sally doesn't contribute to the plot. There you go. Period, exclamation mark, whatever you want to put at the end of the sentence. I just answered the question for people who wondered what Sally did in this movie. There you go. After Sally successfully convinces Lightning McQueen to beat Jackson Storm and to have a comeback season, he then goes on the phone with Rusty and Dusty where they announce that they built a Rusty's training center for him, which means he has to go on a journey again for the third time? Or more than that? I don't really know. But he goes with Mac, he goes with Luigi, he goes with Guido, and people are like, oh, why doesn't he take Mater? Well, the last time he took Mater, it resulted in one of the worst Pixar movies ever made. There you go, enough said. But he goes to the Rusty's training center, and he meets Rusty and Dusty there, and he's like, how could you build all this? And honestly, this scene is kind of heartbreaking too, growing up with these two.
Looks good, doesn't it?
Hey, guys.
What do you think?
What do I think? It's unbelievable.
You want to tell him or should I tell him?
Nah, you start. Go ahead.
We sold Rusty's!
Eh?
What?
What, you think a couple of jabronis like us could do this on our own?
Wait, you sold Rusty's?
It's all good news. We just realized that you needed something that we couldn't give you. It felt like the time was right for us, too. I mean, we're not as young and handsome as we look.
Oh, that's true.
Well, I sure am gonna miss racing for you guys.
You know, you gave us a lot of great memories, Lightning. Memories we'll remember.
Wow, that's good.
Hey, Lightning, whatever you do,
Don't drive like my brother.
don't drive like my brother!
Dang, man, seeing Rusty and Dusty go is... God, why is this movie so emotional already, man? This is already the most emotional of the three. Well, we get introduced to Sterling, who is definitely one of the more interesting characters in the Cars franchise, as we don't know really what to classify him as, a hero or a villain. I mean, he has heroic antics, but he also has villainous remarks, such as not wanting McQueen to race for marketing reasons, but also owns Rusty's and wishes McQueen all the best of luck. So, what is it? You know what I mean? But anyways, McQueen fights back and stands up for himself against Sterling, and Sterling lets him train with Cruz Ramirez, who is an important character in this movie, so remember her name. I can't stand people that can't remember her name, because she has one of the best scenes in the movie. One of the most emotional and one of the most, well, real world tying, I guess. I don't really know what to call it, but it's a good story. She has a good story. Anyways, she trains with him, and McQueen is put on a simulator, the one that Jackson Storm uses to get faster, in which McQueen absolutely fails. He's not good at that. So what he does is he goes to a beach that Doc Hudson raced on. We're getting tributes to Doc already. This is great. This is a great start. I'm not crying. You are. Anyways, Cruz is not very experienced outside, so McQueen has to train her and teach her how to drive on like sand, dirt, off-road, in which McQueen is realizing that he is not as fast as he used to be, with his top speed being 198 while Jackson Storm was at 212. So that is a huge difference. McQueen and Cruz then go to Thunder Hollow, where they think that they could race there since that was one of Doc's old tracks. Again, I'm not crying. You are. And it turns out to be a Thunder Derby? I don't know what they call it in that movie. I kind of forgot. It's hard to remember every single scene from a movie. So, yeah, forgive me if I'm wrong. But I know the place is called Thunder Hollow. So that's where they go. And, yeah, Lightning McQueen gets kind of embarrassed. And Cruz wins the trophy. And McQueen is not very happy, to put it lightly, because he is too busy taking care of his trainer, as he says. But Cruz looked up to Lightning and wanted to become a racer herself. And my God, like, there's so many emotional scenes in this movie, but this one, man, it's like, it's so good. It doesn't need any music. It doesn't need any, like, crazy shots. It doesn't need any, like, scenery. It's just, oh my God, the acting is, like, the voice acting is so well done here. Like, just listen to it real quick.
Ask me if I dreamed of being a trainer, Mr. McQueen. Go ahead. Ask me if I got up in the dark to run laps before school every day. Ask me if I saved every penny to buy a ticket to the races when they came to town. Ask me if I did that so that I could be a trainer someday. Ask me.
Did you?
No! I've wanted to become a racer forever. Because of you. I used to watch you on TV, flying through the air. You seemed so fearless. Dream small, Cruz. That's what my family used to say. Dream small or not at all. They were just trying to protect me. But I was the fastest kid in town, and I was gonna prove them wrong.
What happened?
When I got to my first race, I figured it out.
What?
That I didn't belong. The other racers looked nothing like me. You know, they were bigger and stronger and so confident. And when they started their engines, that was it. I knew I'd never be a racer. I just left. It was my one shot, and I didn't take it. What was it like for you when you showed up to your first race? How did you know you could do it?
I don't know. I just never thought I couldn't.
I wish I knew what that felt like. Good luck, Mr. McQueen.
You see what I mean? The voice acting is so well done in this scene that you actually feel for Cruz, who up to this point we haven't really cared about or anything. We're just watching for Lightning McQueen. But now you really feel for her, and you feel bad for her, you know? She had her shot, but she just, you know, didn't take it. And then she drives off into, I don't even know, just into the darkness. With nowhere else to go, McQueen turns on the news where he learns that Jackson Storm has like a 95% chance of winning the race, and McQueen only has like 1%, which is really, really, really big difference if you know math. Out of 100%, 95 out of 100 is a pretty big number. Okay, I'm just gonna stop talking about math. Let's just get back to the movie. Anyways, McQueen then decides to call Mater for advice, and Mater is actually a good best friend in this film, unlike Cars 2, where he makes McQueen lose and distracts him from the race and all this and that. Mater, he literally gives McQueen some of the best advice he could have gotten. And honestly, from Mater, this scene works. Mater would say something like this because he's known Doc for a long time, and he knows that probably whoever taught him knows more than Doc, because Doc taught McQueen. It's perfect logic behind Mater's sense. Like, this is a great scene. I love this scene, and like, this is one of the last times we'll see Mater. Again, they don't have Mater this much in this movie because of something else that exists that went horribly wrong. Alright, moving on from Cars 2, because that is not what we're talking about. Maybe another time, but not this time. So, Lightning McQueen then goes over to where Doc's mentor is. His name is Smokey, and he finds Doc's track that he practiced on, and my God, it's something about this music here that makes this scene emotional for no reason whatsoever.
If this track could talk. Cruz, what do you say? Let's take a lap.
See what I mean, man? Like, the track is, you know, just looks like some old dirt track. However, like, the music about, like, you know, Doc Hudson racing on it, and then McQueen being so happy to finally practice on his mentor's track, it's just, it's very nice to see and very heartwarming. They then run into Smokey, obviously, and Smokey helps McQueen train and try to be faster than Jackson Storm. And it goes well for the most part. McQueen is having the time of his life, you know, with the tractors and all of that. Cruz is also having a good time with him. And McQueen realizes he's not fast enough even after all the training. However, despite this, McQueen still decides to race for what seems to be his final time, according to Sterling, which, yeah, Sterling's true colors really reveal here when he doesn't really want McQueen to race and blah, blah, blah. But McQueen still races nonetheless. However, during the middle of the race, McQueen goes over to Cruz and says, "This is your shot to win and prove everybody wrong." Cruz is hesitant at first, but she goes right on out there and catches up with most of the racers.
No, not me! Her!
What?
What is she doing back here? Come on, guys, get her set up, quickly! Okay.
What do you say?
Oh, hey, 35 mile per hour pit speed!
I knew that!
We're just learning that the racer replacing McQueen is Cruz Ramirez. High. Go low, go low. Nice job.
The best part is that Cruz is using what she learned with Lightning McQueen whenever they went on all their, you know, journeys and races and practices and all that, stating, "You have hit the wall," which is a reference to when McQueen was on the simulator earlier, or the crabs go night-night on the beach when they were racing on the beach earlier, trying to get McQueen's top speed. And then there was also the scene where the cars turn into the tractors, and that's a reference to when Smokey was training them. So overall, it's just a cool thing that the movie like reflects back on, and kind of like the first Cars when McQueen was learning from Mater driving backwards and Doc Hudson's drift trick. that McQueen and Cruz both have like similar stories in this race, looking back on what they learned, which is great. They executed this very well. And, well, we're not even at the best part of the race yet. So Jackson Storm gets intimidated and then does this.
Ramirez is in third.
Hey, costume girl! At first I thought you were out here because your GPS was broken.
Don't listen to him, Cruz.
You look good. It's important to look the part. You can't have everyone thinking that you don't deserve to be here.
He's trying to get in your head.
They don't need to know what you and I already do. That you can play dress up all you want, but you'll never be one of us.
So it looks like Storm has gotten into Cruz's head. However, McQueen gives encouraging words to Cruz, saying that she got in his head because he was concerned, which is true. After that, Cruz catches back up to Jackson Storm, and they have this one-on-one battle to the end. And Jackson Storm slams her against the wall, and then we get the best part of the race, and arguably the best scene of the entire movie right here.
Cruz, get out of there!
You don't belong on this track!
Yes, I do!
I don't believe it! It's Cruz Ramirez for the win!
She pulled off Doc's move! Yeah! So that is the ending to that race, and we're near the end of the movie, in which I've summarized in about like 23 minutes, and I'll get into why it's underrated in about like 5 minutes or less, but we have to get to the ending. So basically, Sterling sells Rusty's, attacks, Cruz is crowned champion, but McQueen does something to make this ending feel like an absolute dedication that we know that this movie was aiming for Doc Hudson's memory.
Oh, it's perfect. It's very old school.
Did someone just say old school?
Trying something new. I like it. Wow. Subtle.
Figured if I'm gonna be your crew chief, I better do it in style.
What's Mr. Sterling gonna say?
I'm actually more worried about what Tex is gonna say, considering he, bought Rusty's. So, you ready to start training?
I don't know. You ready to lose again?
Oh, hope you got your fluffy cloud.
I hope you got your drip pan.
Got my drip pan and I'm taking my nap.
Bring it on, old man.
Luigi?
What an ending, man. A tribute to Doc Hudson, and it did a really, really good job on that. Now, let's get on to some things that people overlook. And I'm going to compare it to like maybe the other two movies. I don't really know if I'm going to do that yet, but I plan to tell you why it is underrated. There are some key moments or key things that they do in this movie that make it underrated. So let's just start off with number one, the cameos they chose for this movie. Obviously, every sequel has a cameo. That's just a fact. You got, Scream with Sidney Prescott. You have Star Wars with Obi-Wan Kenobi in The Phantom Menace. And then you also got, Kirsty in the 6th Hellraiser. So there you go. And this movie, the cameos were actually done really well. The king is a crew chief for his nephew, which is, that suits the king, He's a wise guy who knows a lot about racing, so it makes sense that he'd be a crew chief. And then, of course, Chick Hicks would get the Skip Bayless treatment and be the unlikable, talk show host person, car, thing, whatever you want to call him. But yeah, I think these cameos were done great. I think that Bob Cutlass also returning back in this movie was a great idea, and why he wasn't in Cars 2 baffles me. At least we have Daryl Cartrip still as well, so that was pretty cool. Jeff Corvette also appears for like 5 seconds in this movie, but it's like nobody really cares. I mean, you still don't even need to watch Cars 2 for this because McQueen has said, well, he said it in Cars 2, but they're known to be friends even before Cars 2. So you could have just never watched it and you wouldn't even care, really. So, or even remember Jeff from Cars 2. I mean, I didn't until I looked on the Cars wiki, but hey, here we are now, huh? Rusty and Dusty's cameos are also pretty cool, though we don't get to see them that often. Their exit also makes an emotional impact as well. And yeah, the cameos were done really well from the King, Chick Hicks, Rusty and Dusty. Bob Cutlass returning was good. So yeah, that's a great reason why this movie is pretty underrated. Another thing I see is that the humor in this movie is not that good. And to me, there are some really funny moments in this movie that I enjoyed. Such as things like this.
Hit it! First, I'm gonna loosen up these ancient joints.
No, please don't.
I'm sorry that I yelled. It wasn't your fault that I almost got killed.
Stop.
But now, you're leaving, and you won't get on the ramp.
Go.
You won't get on the
I'll
ramp.
go.
You getting a car wash too, Cal?
No, you're getting a car wash, McQueen.
Get them back, Cal.
I mean, I think the key is we respect each other. These guys are real class acts.
Congratulations, Cupcake!
Oh, they are gonna pay.
Oh, thank you, Shannon. It was a great movie. Hey! Vito! Haha, laugh it up. Real fun.
Okay, but in all seriousness though, why this movie is so underrated in my opinion is the story to it. The story is absolutely phenomenal in my opinion. Doc Hudson's tribute was done great. Everything in this movie makes sense. The plot makes sense. The characters make sense. The villain, who is Jackson Storm, who has probably nothing to do with Doc Hudson, but his defeat makes it just makes sense. All of this movie makes sense. And I don't know why people rank it below movies like The Good Dinosaur. Like, how in the world is The Good Dinosaur better than this movie? Sorry, my inner rage for The Bad Dinosaur came out. But yeah, this story is really, really good. Doc Hudson was absolutely one of the best characters in Cars, and they executed this really well. And the trailer for this is really good too, but this is about the movie, not the trailer. The scenes are emotional that need to be emotional. There's no over-the-top shots on some of them that just make it emotional. And overall, this is the movie where Lightning McQueen is the most likable out of the three, in my opinion, because he's not an absolute jerk like he is. Maybe the crew's saying that she'll never be a race car, but I mean, hey, he didn't know her backstory, and he listened and gave Cruz the chance. So Lightning McQueen is absolutely at his peak in this movie, so that's always good to hear. Jackson Storm is regarded to be like a boring Chick Hicks, but in my opinion, he's serviceable. I mean, he gets in people's head like Chick. He's not a dirty player like Chick, but man, will he gaslight the racers. I mean, he got in McQueen's head to where it almost ended his career, which is pretty brutal in my opinion. And hey, he's acting like McQueen when he first came in. So McQueen's like, this is how I used to act? And it's like crazy to think about, you know what I mean? So crazy that we grew up from McQueen winning all those races as a rookie to Jackson Storm acting like McQueen, but we don't really like him that much. So that's pretty cool. Also, let's talk about the ending. The ending is absolutely great, where Cruz does her little flip Doc Hudson move over Jackson Storm for the win, and then McQueen decides to repaint himself as the fabulous Lightning McQueen in honor of Doc Hudson. Also, Tex buys Rusty's, which is really cool because I really didn't like Sterling. He's probably the only part of the movie I didn't really like that much, but Tex buying Rusty's from him it's great. I like it. Cruz also getting Dinoco was really cool, and seeing the King again at the end and Cal was pretty cool. Mater not being in this movie a lot, obviously, yes, I wish there was a little more Mater, but he does contribute to the plot at least, which is something that I like. And yeah, I don't understand why people diss this movie or forget about it. I highly recommend watching this movie if you've seen the first Cars and haven't seen this, and go check it out. I think it is the best out of the three, and I think that this is a top 10 Pixar movie. Is it top 5? No, absolutely not. There are great movies out there better than this, but is it underrated? Yes. And I hope you guys enjoyed and listened to me as I babbled about this movie, and yeah, I truly do think that this is an underrated Pixar gem. and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.
I saved the outstretched hand.